resume about the general. So in other words, somebody probably would have to create 985 assessments based on a defined set of criteria. That this would take a little bit longer is without question. Of course, this would also assume that there would be enough data available in the first place, which I seriously doubt. Now, even if one had all the data, the next challenge would be, is there enough overlap in the data to make a proper comparison?
Nope.
Gotthard Heinrici was one of the Wehrmacht's most skilled defensive commanders, known for his strategic retreat tactics. A veteran of World War I, he participated in the German invasion of Belgium and later fought on the Eastern Front, earning the Iron Cross for his service. During World War II, he played a key role in the Battle of France, where his forces broke through the Maginot Line. On the Eastern Front, he commanded during Operation Barbarossa, leading the 43rd Army Corps in Gotthard Heinrici was one of the Wehrmacht's most skilled defensive commanders, known for his strategic retreat tactics. A veteran of World War
Sorry about that. I was trying to bring up the chat, the multi-stream chat on this side of my screen, and I seem to have fucked up. I do apologise. Oops. Hello, hello. I am back. I do apologise. Yay! I left it too. It's not good at streaming. Who'd have thunk it? I will wait for everyone to come back. No. I'll try to bring up the chat, the multi-stream on this side, on the left-hand side of my stream, and I seem to have fucked up. Yay, I left this so you can't stream properly. Who'd have thunk it? No, I'm fine. These are all good. I checked before going live with them for most of these ones. And this is Professor Stein, the one that Kev watched the other day. The company's involved in the Shoah, and they're still operating today, obviously, because Operation Paperclip, mostly. There is one kit. The American Empire, literally making some of the Nazis survive, and it actually worked in Operation West Germany. It just fucking ends me. Forever, we are going to be fighting the fascist hordes. Or maybe not hordes. Still, they seem like a horde now, though, isn't it? But I am here to counter them. Hopefully. Yeah. Shall we continue?
I, he participated in the German invasion of Belgium and later fought on the Eastern Front, earning the Iron Cross for his service. During World War II, he played a key role in the Battle of France, where his forces broke through the Maginot Line. On the Eastern Front, he commanded during Operation Barbarossa, leading the 43rd Army Corps in major battles such as Bialystok, Minsk, Kiev and Moscow. Promoted to command the 4th Army, he was known for his defensive tactics, notably delaying Soviet advances at Orsha in 1943. During retreat, his forces inflicted heavy losses on the advancing Red Army. He was briefly dismissed for refusing to destroy Smolensk during a retreat, but later returned to command the 1st Panzer Army in Hungary, disrupting Soviet forces again during the Battle of the Dukla Pass. In 1945, he was appointed commander of Army Group Vistula and organized the defense of the Oder River, significantly slowing the Soviet advance at the Battle of Seelow Heights. However, after disobeying orders to commit his troops to a last-ditch defense of Berlin, he was dismissed in 1945 as one of the few German generals respected by Soviet Marshal Georgy Zhukov. Albert Kesselring, a general so revered that even his enemies gave him a nickname, Smiling Albert, yet so feared he pulled off one of the most devastating retaliatory massacres of World War II. Before he became known for his defensive genius in Italy, Kesselring was a key figure in secretly rebuilding the German Air Force after it was disbanded post-World War I. His role was so pivotal that he is often called the father of the Luftwaffe's rebirth. Kesselring was directly responsible for the strategic bombing that ravaged British cities like Coventry during the Blitzkrieg.
Some of the most brutal bombing raids were conducted here, literally here in Glasgow, because of the shipbuilding capacity that Glasgow had. Clydebank got absolutely fucking devastated by this bastard, even though it was during he was the Luftwaffe essentially, but his tactics that he implemented absolutely fucked. So they're still finding bombs in Clydebank, by the way, unexploded ordnance to this day. It is mental. Just ask Coventry or London. The blitz is real. That blitz spirit stuff, fair enough. Maybe eyes. But yeah, the bombing campaign was literally sort of implemented. Well, not implemented by him, but within the Luftwaffe essentially. So as far as I'm concerned, this man is a fucking bastard. I would have bombed him back to the Cretaceous. You devastated Clydebank in Glasgow. Thank you, you absolute fucking fascist bastard.
From commanding skies over Poland, France, and during the Battle of Britain, he then transitioned to lead ground forces in North Africa alongside Erwin Rommel, before taking full command of the Mediterranean operations. In Italy, Kesselring turned every natural obstacle into a fortress. His strategy involved constructing the formidable Gustav Line, employing a layered defense that made the Allies pay in blood for every step forward. His tactics in Italy were so effective that they prolonged the war there for 2 years, turning the campaign into a meat.
The only reason, one of the reasons they were so effective is because the command structure, not the command structure itself for the Allied forces was really quite good. But the persons that got put into those key positions, they were bastards. They were stupid, ignorant, or wanted to do it a different way because the people who came up with these in Washington DC and in London and in France, well, for all intents and purposes, the non-collaborationists were here in Britain at the time. They came up with this, and some of them, because of sheer pig-headedness, say, no, they don't know what they're doing. I'm the best at this, blah, blah, blah. That's why it didn't work so well, and literally it was a meat grinder, and we lost fucking thousands of troops because we put the wrong people in key positions. Delightful. This is one of the main reasons I hate fucking war, because it depends who's in these key positions and how the battle plan gets used. Some of the times it works, and it works effectively. It is brilliant. It saves troops' lives. And in other cases, it fucking doesn't. And literally, meat grinder, we lose all our troops. We get destroyed fucking materiel, trucks, tanks, waste of ammo, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Because we put the wrong person in charge of things. or because they feel obliged because of previous experience and all that fucking bollocks. No, if you think they're not going to be able to do the battle plan properly to go up against the fascist scum, don't put them into the fucking position. Seriously. By the way, it's not going to be World War III, it's going to be World War IV, because the Napoleonic is classed as the First World War because it happened over 5 different continents. People seem to forget that. I will remind everyone every so often. So, Napoleonic, first, Second World War, Second World War, third. So we're on to our fourth. There's lots of little different, what would be classed as skirmishes, if you can call Vietnam and Korea skirmishes. They nearly turned out into being World War IV or III, depending on what way you classify them. I'm a little bit different in my history takes, but it's just my opinion, really. Feel free to challenge me on them. That is why I'm here.
Grinder for Allied forces. At Salerno, Kesselring's counterattack was so fierce it almost became one of the largest Allied retreats in Europe, with German forces emerging from every direction, nearly pushing the Allies back into the sea. Allied commanders thought about evacuation. Even by the war's end, the Allies were still far from breaking into Germany from the south. Kesselring surrendered his army a week before Germany's official surrender in May 1945. Despite his charming nickname and the respect he commanded, Kesselring was known for his iron discipline. His men called him Uncle Albert, but this was a man who could order brutal reprisals without flinching. His enemies feared him not just for his strategic mind, but for his merciless efficiency. Kesselring is responsible for the ARGH massacre, where he ordered the execution of 335 civilians in retaliation for the Via Rasella partisan attack. His war crimes conviction was later commuted, allowing him freedom by 1952. Even after the war, Kesselring never renounced his loyalty to Hitler. Hermann Hoth was one of Nazi Germany's most skilled panzer commanders, but also one of its most fanatical believers in Hitler's ideology. Hoth was instrumental in the early days of the Wehrmacht's motorization, setting the stage for Germany's blitzkrieg tactics. His understanding of mobile warfare made him a nightmare for opponents, as he could outmaneuver and outpace them, catching them off guard. Hoth's forces were notorious for their relentless advance, never giving the enemy a moment to regroup. He made a name for himself leading armored assaults in Poland and France, where his corps smashed through enemy lines and helped trap the British at Dunkirk. His victories earned him rapid promotions, making him one of the Wehrmacht's most celebrated generals. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Hoth commanded the 3rd Panzer Group, helping to encircle and annihilate Soviet forces. But he wasn't just about battlefield tactics. He fully embraced Hitler's war of annihilation, enforcing brutal policies against prisoners and civilians. He later led the 4th Panzer Army at Stalingrad and fought at Kursk, but by 1943, exhaustion and battlefield setbacks saw him sacked after the Soviets retook Kiev. After the war, he was convicted of war crimes, sentenced to 15 years of prison, and released on parole in 1954. Fedor von Bock was a German field marshal who commanded multiple army groups during World War II, leading forces in Poland, France, the Soviet Union, and finally Army Group South in 1942. Born in 1880 into a military family, he began his career at a cadet academy, rose to the rank of captain in World War I, and gained recognition for his tactical expertise. After Germany's defeat, he navigated the constraints of the Treaty of Versailles and was involved in maintaining military capabilities despite restrictions. A staunch monarchist, Bock struggled with Nazi ideology but prioritized duty over personal beliefs, playing a key role in Austria's annexation and the Sudetenland crisis in 1938. His leadership in Poland demonstrated the effectiveness of blitzkrieg tactics, leading to a swift victory. Von Bock's command of Army Group North was pivotal in the encirclement strategy that led to the Battle of Bzura. While he avoided political entanglements and had no part in anti-Hitler conspiracies, his battlefield success earned him the rare privilege of speaking candidly to Hitler. Promoted to Field Marshal after victories in Poland and France, Bock later clashed with Hitler over strategy during Operation Barbarossa. He pushed for a rapid assault on Moscow, launching Operation Typhoon in September 1941, but his advance was ultimately stalled by severe weather and Soviet resistance. By December, his forces were within 12 miles of Moscow, but despite his confidence, he was soon dismissed. Bock's later military career was marked by further disagreements with Hitler, leading to his final dismissal in July 1942. In May 1945, as the war neared its end, Bock, his wife and stepdaughter were killed when their car was strafed by a New Zealand bomber near Hamburg. Erich von Manstein, a general so brilliant that he could argue with Hitler and win, only to later be dismissed for the same audacity. Born into an aristocratic Prussian family with deep military roots, von Manstein joined the army young and served on both.
You will be noticing that a lot of Prussians, the born into, as obviously the aristocratic Prussian family. Ray Joy's comrades, Brody, is here. Brody has arrived. Hi, Brody. I have voted in Scottish Green Party internal elections. I will not say who, obviously. We will find out on the 22nd, which is a week on Friday. Am I? Huh. Is that better? I will raise my own volume first. Give me a second. Oh, yeah. Do. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I've got that perfect. Is it just me? Maybe I'm just a little bit quiet. Do I need to raise my own volume? I will raise my voice up a little bit better. Does that sound better? Hello, hello. It's not my voice. Oh, interesting. That's still. Give me a second, please. Sound. Yeah. Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Or can you hear me a little bit clearer and louder? Of course, I can always speak more forcefully. Huh. Interesting. What the fuck is going on? Give me a second. Oh, oh. What? Oops. Good. One. Microphone. Is that better? Even if I'm a bit quieter than usual, can you still hear me? If you can all still hear me, I'm quite cool with that. Yay! Fantastic. Hello, hello. Thank you, Brody. Thank you very much for your help. Tonight's poison of choice, or viewing poison, Nazis. Delightful. Shall we continue? And yet, Prussian aristocracy goes back. I. I do love the word I. Obviously, it's simple and it gets the point across. Yes, carrying on with the not too heavy content. We all need to know about these bastards, basically. We'll go on to things more recent after we went, well, one of them's an hour long. We'll get to other stuff, don't you worry. Shall we continue?
The Western and Eastern fronts during World War I. During the invasion of Poland in 1939, he served as Chief of Staff, though privately he believed Poland should remain a buffer state against the Soviet Union. Manstein is best known for his strategic genius, particularly the Sichelschnitt-Plan, which proposed a surprise attack through the Ardennes to cut off French and Allied forces, leading to a swift victory in France.
Bit of a mixed decision on that one, really. Both now within historians and people who are militaristic, military historians, things of people of that nature. I'm a bit split, really. The Ardennes in certain sections are one of the the densest forests in Europe, in Western Europe. So actually trying to get through the Ardennes in certain sections kind of tricky, but I still managed to do it because military geniuses. I follow military history and tactics like this to see how the next World War is going to happen, especially here in Western Europe. Plus, there's already a battlefield, a war, a war happening to the east of it, really. And most of Western Europe are worried. Let's just put it that way. And educating people about how things have happened in the past. I've always seen it as a good thing. Don't get me wrong, having to deal with this sort of history, not easy. Very infuriating, obviously, especially for a communist like myself. Don't get me wrong, I see why wars happen. I don't want them to happen, obviously. Hence, anti-imperialist, anti-colonialist, and most definitely anti-war. I know there are other people like me out there, but these things do happen.
Promoted to full general, he later commanded the 11th Army in the Soviet Union, capturing the Crimean Peninsula and Sevastopol after brutal sieges. In just one battle, his 11th Army captured over 400,000 Soviet prisoners. During the siege of Sevastopol, he used Dora, one of the largest siege guns in history, in a relentless bombardment, really showing his willingness to employ extreme measures. Later, under his command, the 56th Panzer Corps nearly succeeded in capturing Leningrad. Tasked with saving the encircled 6th Army at Stalingrad, Manstein's strategic retreat plan was overruled by Hitler, leading to one of the war's most significant German defeats. Despite setbacks, Manstein counterattacked in early 1943, recapturing Kharkov in a surprise maneuver, but his forces suffered heavy losses at Kursk. As Soviet offensives pushed the Germans back, Manstein's scorched earth policy left a trail of devastation. Manstein's career was marked by his criticisms of Hitler's military decisions, a boldness that ultimately led to his dismissal in 1944. Post-war, Manstein was convicted of numerous war crimes, receiving an 18-year sentence. Erwin Rommel was a highly skilled German general who gained recognition in both World War I and II. He was awarded the Pour le Mérite, the highest Royal Prussian Order of Bravery, for his exceptional leadership and actions on the Italian front during World War I. His tactical expertise caught Hitler's attention, leading to his appointment as commander of the 7th Panzer Division during the invasion of France in 1940. His rapid, unpredictable maneuvers earned the nickname the Ghost Division. In 1941, Rommel was sent to North Africa to support the struggling Italian army, where he achieved significant victories against
Struggling Italian army. I'll just expand on that a little bit. Is either a half or 2/3 of the Italian troops were conscripts. They were literally dragged, put in a uniform, given a rifle and saying, "You're doing this now," and a lot of them didn't want to be there. I don't blame them. So yes, struggling, bit of an understatement, really. So vast swathes of the Italian troops really didn't want to be fighting. They didn't. Some of them did, don't get me wrong. But most of the ground troops, the actual soldiers fighting these battles against the Allied forces, they didn't want to be there. They really didn't. So yeah. So basically they went, the Germans went into Italy and said, right, move aside. I don't know too much about the Italian officer corps, but the actual ground troops, the actual soldiers, most of them didn't want to be there. Hence, not really fighting that well. It was the same in Greece, by the way.
the British with surprise attacks, maneuver warfare, tactical deception and speed, earning the title Desert Fox. However, his success was short-lived as his forces suffered a major defeat at El Alamein in 1942, but Rommel still delayed defeat despite supply shortages. Recalled to Germany in 1943, he was reassigned to fortify France's coastal defenses ahead of an expected Allied invasion. He built anti-tank barriers and advocated for deploying reserves close to the beaches to repel landings, but was overruled by German high command. During the Normandy invasion in 1944, Rommel was injured in an air attack and hospitalized. Soon after, he was implicated in the failed plot to assassinate Hitler, though his
possible links to Valkyrie, by the way. It is cinema, don't get me wrong on this, but quite a lot of the details in the Tom Cruise film, Valkyrie, is quite decent. It's a good film, I'll give it that. And they did actually use some of the actual history, the actual things that happened, and put it into the film with slight creative license, essentially. But they did get a good chunk of the actual things that happened during Operation Valkyrie. So yeah, the links between Operation Valkyrie and Rommel, contested really. Maybe I, maybe no. Yeah. He is somewhat of a mixed bag, really, Rommel. My own personal opinion, maybe? Maybe. None has been found as of today, really, so. I think there's possible links, but no conclusive, no hard evidence to prove that he knew anything of Valkyrie and the moon. Maybe. It is widely known that he wasn't liking the way it was getting operated at the higher echelons in the Reich, so. Make your own decisions. But my opinion, maybe some links. Maybe.
His exact involvement remains uncertain. To avoid public disgrace and repercussions against his family, Rommel was given the choice to stand trial or take his own life. In October 1944, he took cyanide, and the Nazi regime falsely announced his death as a result of battlefield injuries. After the war, his opposition to Hitler was acknowledged, and he was regarded with a degree of respect, even by former Allied leaders. Walter Model was Hitler's go-to fireman, always sent in to patch up Germany's crumbling front lines. A hardcore Nazi from the early days, he was fiercely loyal to the regime, which earned him high praise from Hitler. His allegiance was so profound that he penned a letter to Himmler in 1945, reaffirming his loyalty even as the Third Reich crumbled. Initially an aggressive panzer commander, Model became famous for his defensive tactics, constantly trying to hold back the Red Army's relentless advance. Promoted to Major General in 1938, he played a key role in the invasion of Poland and later led the 3rd Panzer Division in a highly successful Dnieper River crossing where he barely suffered any casualties. He was also instrumental in closing the Kiev pocket, capturing a staggering 665,000 Soviet troops, one of the war's largest victories for Germany. By the time of the Battle of Kursk, Hitler had lost trust in the old aristocratic generals like Manstein and instead leaned on Model, whose defensive tactical skills made him invaluable. In 1944, he became Field Marshal and was tasked with holding the Western Front, but couldn't stop the Allied advance in France. He later defended Arnhem during Operation Market Garden, preventing an early Allied push into Germany and buying some time. His final stand came during the Battle of the Bulge and the Ruhr encirclement, where he ultimately surrendered his army of 300,000 men before taking his own life to avoid capture. Günther von Kluge was one of Hitler's most accomplished generals during World War II, earning a reputation for his leadership on the Eastern Front. As commander of the 4th Army, he played a key role in the invasions of Poland and France, which led to his promotion to Field Marshal. He continued his success during Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. When the Soviet counteroffensive in December 1941 forced the Germans into retreat,
I do that and immediately need to go. I will be back, comrades, don't worry. 1 second. No, 1 second. 1 or 2 minutes, please. I will be back. I'll be back. Hello, hello. Your mad Scottish woman.
Kluge replaced Fedor von Bock as commander of Army Group Center, a position he held until October 43 when a serious car accident took him out of action. He returned in 1944 to take over command in France from Gerd von Rundstedt, who had been dismissed for his defeatist attitude. Kluge quickly realized that stopping the Allied advance was impossible and reported that the German defenses in Normandy would soon collapse. Though not directly involved in the July plot to assassinate Hitler, suspicion fell on him. As the situation worsened, his car was damaged in an Allied bombardment in August, briefly cutting him off from communication. Hitler, already distrustful, suspected him of negotiating a surrender and removed him from command 2 days later, replacing him with Walter Model. Summoned to Berlin, Kluge
At this point, during the war, Adolf was not doing too well, mentally, psychologically, and psychiatrically, essentially. His mind was, for lack of a better word, fucked at this point. Parkinson's, definitely drug abuse as well through the daughters he had for himself, essentially, and wider knowledge within the Third Reich, essentially. At this point, late 43 onwards, his mind is basically new already. It's descended so far, it's already. He was already a form of a psychopath, really, at this even before the start of the war, but at this point his mind is so drug-addled and psychologically damaged within itself that this is when all the odd orders start coming out and he gets more angry, he starts breaking down, physically and mentally at this point. So 44, 45, he was already compromised within himself, and the Third Reich as a whole was starting to break down and getting even more factionalized than it already was. So this was doomed. It was doomed from this point on. It was already doomed to start with, but from this point onwards, from like 44 onwards, it was already fucked. It wasn't going to work. Because of the way fascism works and the way this man himself wanted to set it up, it was going to crumble because when his mind started to go, it was going to start breaking down rather quickly, and subsequently it did. Yeah. Which is a good thing, obviously. But still, mass atrocities yet to come.
Believed he would be arrested for treason and chose to end his life with cyanide in 1944. In his final message, he expressed loyalty to Hitler but urged Germany to end the war. Heinz Guderian was a German general and a pioneer of armored warfare, best known for developing the Blitzkrieg strategy. He was instrumental in shaping the panzer divisions that would later dominate the early years of World War II. During the invasion of Poland in 1939, his tanks blitzed through enemy lines, advancing 330 kilometers in just 10 days. But his real breakthrough came in 1940 when his armored divisions smashed through the Ardennes, an area the Allies thought was tank-proof, bypassing the heavily fortified Maginot Line and racing to the coast Trapping British and French forces at Dunkirk and leading to the rapid collapse of France, he executed Manstein's strategy flawlessly. In 41, Guderian led Panzergruppe 2 in Operation Barbarossa, spearheading the advance into the Soviet Union, capturing Minsk, Smolensk and nearly reaching Moscow. However, his aggressive approach clashed with Hitler's micromanagement, and after the failed push for Moscow and defying Hitler's orders for a last stand in December 1941, he was dismissed. In 1943, he was brought back, tasked with rebuilding Germany's tank forces, though by then the tide of war had turned. Following the 44 assassination attempt on Hitler, Guderian was made acting chief of the General Staff and became entangled with the Nazi regime, overseeing purges of military officers accused of conspiracy. His forces also carried out brutal orders during the war, including reprisals after the Warsaw Uprising. In May 1945, Guderian surrendered to US forces and was held until 1948, but was never charged with war crimes. Hasso von Manteuffel was a baron and general during World War II, known for his expertise in armored warfare. Coming from the Prussian noble von Manteuffel family, he joined the Panzer Troop Command in 1937 and quickly proved himself in combat. During the Battle of France, his battalion played a crucial role in the rapid German advance through the Ardennes. In Operation Barbarossa, he led a battalion in the 7th Panzer Division, participating in key battles such as the advance on Moscow and Tula. In early 43, Manteuffel was sent to North Africa. He played a key role in the Battle of Tunisia, leading defense operations and counterattacks against Allied forces. However, despite some tactical successes, the Axis position in Tunisia collapsed. Later, in the Battle of Kursk, he commanded the elite Großdeutschland Panzergrenadier Division, making significant but costly breakthroughs into Soviet lines. He was highly effective at both defense and offense, conducting counterattacks against the Soviets in 1944. Manteuffel also led the 5th Panzer Army in the Ardennes offensive, achieving the deepest German penetration into Allied territory, nearly reaching the Meuse River before engaging US forces in the Battle of Bastogne. In March 45, he was reassigned to the Eastern Front, where his 3rd Panzer Army was tasked with defending the Oder River. But the Soviet forces broke through, forcing a retreat and surrender to the British in May 1945. After the war, Manteuffel transitioned to politics, serving in the Bundestag as a defense policy spokesman for the Free Democratic Party. He was a key advocate for West Germany's rearmament and responsible for naming the new post-war German military, the Bundeswehr. Gerd von Rundstedt wasn't the flashiest general in the Wehrmacht, but he was one of its most competent and respected. A master of large-scale operations, he commanded Army Group A during the invasion of France in 1940, overseeing its advance through the Ardennes. His leadership helped coordinate the 6-week victory, working alongside Guderian and Hoth's tanks. During Operation Barbarossa, he led Army Group South in the invasion of the Soviet Union, orchestrating the massive encirclement at Kiev, one of the biggest battlefield victories. But as Soviet resistance stiffened, he recommended a controlled retreat, only to be fired by Hitler for his honesty. Brought back in 1942, he was tasked with defending Western Europe against an inevitable Allied invasion. He disagreed with Rommel on strategy. Rundstedt favored mobile defense, while Rommel wanted an all-out beach defense. When D-Day landed in 44, Rundstedt saw they were
Some of my former trots, girl, the 2 people who actually, 2 of the former trots who I used to speak to, oh, educating people to let them know what they were like. Rejoice, comrades. Snuggled Snake is here and just came in to say hi. Hi, Snuggled. Please be the legend. Yeah, I think people need to know these things about these people. Always a good idea, in my opinion. Each to their own, of course. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. I have voted in Scottish Greens internal elections today. Well, yesterday now. We will find out a week on Friday. It shall be good. I hope. Thank you for saying hi, Sizzles. If you want to post anything that you think I should be covering, feel free to just jump over to the Discord anytime you like.
Fighting a hopeless battle and reportedly urged Hitler's staff to seek peace. He was dismissed soon after. Yet in late 44 he was reinstated again to help plan the Battle of the Bulge. The attack was doomed from the start due to Germany's dwindling fuel and reserves, but his command made it a brutal fight for the Allies. Rundstedt was finally dismissed for good in March 45 and made prisoner of war by US forces shortly after. After the war, he was charged with war crimes, but avoided trial due to age and poor health. Hermann Balck was one of the Wehrmacht's best operational commanders, known for his
Right. Let's try this again. I will end my stream. I'm going to end my stream, but I will be back in 1 minute.